Welcome to Coleman Report Live. I'm Bob Coleman, and we're talking Main Street and the small business lenders who help it grow. Chris Hearn, live from Orlando, CEO, founder of Fountainhead Capital. You guys are doing amazing numbers there, Chris. Congratulations. Keep it up. Live from Indianapolis, excuse me, Joseph Coleman. Joseph's covering the trial. Anything going on in Indianapolis that was interesting, Joseph?
We are in the middle of closing arguments, but we're almost done to jury deliberation this afternoon. So we are wrapping up quickly. I thought I was going to be here all week, but looks like we're going to have some big news tomorrow. So.
All right. Well, let's get into this, Joseph. You've been there a couple days. Not only do I want to tell you I want to ask you what's going on. I want you to tell me what the atmosphere is. But recap the government's closing arguments. First of all, was it effective?
Very effective, absolutely. So yesterday, I think their star witness was Frank Bucci. He was the center director out of Citrus Heights for over 8 years. During the middle of this fraud, he was dealing directly with BankServe employees and trying to figure out why a lot of their stories were not adding up and why just it kept on coming up that Carrie Agee's group at BankServe and their LSP, why their information was always a little fishy. It just seemed in the back of his head he was trying to figure out, and it just didn't make sense. He finally put it together. They in the closing arguments today, they revealed that Nicole Smith did try to take one too many bites of the apple, and she did get caught. So that's when she was reported to the OIG, and that's when they started looking into all the stuff, and they investigated, and it was pretty easy to figure out that they were lying repeatedly over and over for close to 13 years for up to $10 million in loan guarantees. So the curtain was pulled up.
What was the bite of the apple that Nicole took?
She was trying to rename businesses or just really make anything fit into the right framework. She was omitting affiliates. She was whiting out signatures and changing them. She was doing all sorts of she was basically lying to the purchase center for these denials. And that's why she was investigated, and that's why all 5 of them are sitting across the street right now. So
let's go through the statements. It is what it looks like. That was from the prosecutor, correct?
Correct. So the government put together a nice closing argument. They started around 9 this morning and went for about 90 minutes. He told the jury over and over, it is exactly what we have presented. It is what it looks like. It is a scheme amongst 5 LSP operators, financial business people that were able to game the system and take advantage of SBA and their technical difficulties of figuring out duplicate loans and getting up to $10 million in denials is exactly what you think it is. So he kept on saying over and over, when they were confronted with these stop signs from SBA denied them repeatedly. He kept on saying BankServe never loses a guarantee, meaning they were able to pull it out, pull it out of the hat and alter documents and figure it out. So one loan had 11 lies on it. They pinpointed 11 different times that the defendants were trying to fit the guarantee in and get approved. Meaning fix the pages is whiting out the signatures and altering the loan documents, changing it to SBA Express, that's Taken Express. So this all goes back to paying delinquent payroll taxes using it as working capital. That's the foundation of the fraud.
What did Carrie's attorney say about that in his defense of her?
he said that the SOPs were so confusing during this time period that there was 13 different versions of the SOP. Meaning we went from SOP 4, 5010-4, all the way through SOP 5010F, or whenever they were shut down.
6.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, I'm going to put you on the spot, bringing the conversation. I know, by the way, thank you all for your emails. I know this is shocking to all of us. When we started this trial, I didn't realize how in-depth the allegations would be. Chris, where in the SOP does it say you can't do past payroll taxes as part of an SBA loan? Is it there?
Yeah, it's in there. I couldn't tell you which section or which page, but it's in there. And everybody who's been doing SBA loans for a long time knows.
Yeah, I don't have the specific page, but there is a reference that you cannot pay off.
Yep.
You cannot substitute the SBA guarantee for a loss position. And if you have past payroll taxes, and especially if there's liens on it, obviously that is a loss on that. So,
yep.
That's sort of thing that's ingrained in you in day one, Chris. That's a no-no. We don't do that.
That's a big no-no. Of course, using whiteout to cover up signatures is a pretty big no-no.
I guess they still make whiteout. I thought that was.
The attorneys for the government showed the actual signature that she tried to white out, and there was bits of the cursive that she missed. I mean, it was crude and sloppy. Very crude and very sloppy.
Someone on this line says, "What are they talking about whiteout?" So I'll let you Google it. What's a Taken Express?
Taken Express is when they were denied. Kelly Isley has emails that just simply said, "We're going to do it SB Express, so we're going to do it in-house." Michelle Serrano last week testified that it is absolutely not allowed for you to do that at all. SBA wasn't looking for that. In fact, Frank Pucci yesterday testified. He said, "We trusted the LSPs. We trust the lenders." That's what the partnership of SBA and the banking community and the lending community, that's why it's so successful, is that there's an understanding and a trust, and there's checks and balances that are in place for SBA to do their job, for the bankers to do their job, for the borrowers to do their job. It's all very clear. Why this is so emotional in the courtroom today is that they blurred those lines the whole time. They were supposed to be the LSP that marketed on their website, we know SBA better than you. They could go into any bank in the country and they can say, if you want to start a SBA lending department, come to us and we'll take care of all the nitty-gritty stuff that you don't know about, you don't want to deal with. And they were at the same time, altering documents and doing whatever it took to commit the fraud. So,
Joseph, you mentioned emotion. Don't name the person, but talk about the family's reaction. So, it's one. Go ahead. I'll let you tell that story.
There was one of the defendants admitted to the FBI that she lied to get the guarantees approved. Once the FBI agent testified that occurred, the family that was in the room with me was noticeably shaken up. It was very emotional because they knew that if you lie to the FBI, that we know what happens with that. The end result is never good. So that put a human element to the story. It's been very, enticing for all the lenders to tune in and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, there's a family at the end of the tunnel. A lot of people got hurt. A lot of employees for BankServe don't have jobs. They lost it. A lot of people put a lot of faith into BankServe. I got an email yesterday saying your reporting saved me a lot of time and energy because BankServe wanted to buy their company. So people are coming out of the woodwork right now and they said, it just didn't add up, and I'm glad we didn't go through with that. I'm glad we didn't have a business relationship with Carrie Agee because she's facing the consequences right now, and you realize how many corners were cut and how many people got hurt during this. So
what is the quote, student loans are business expenses?
That is that was a part of the defense's strategy as well. Their student loan debt cannot be paid with an SBA loan. However, one of BankServe's, it was to a baseball academy here in Indiana, and the business owner had a student loan, but she used the student loan to start the business. So they were trying to say that the student loan funds were not used for tuition and books and all that stuff. It was used to actually start the business. So it should be considered as a business loan. That was one of the tactics the defense was trying to use. So,
how big is this smoking gun, the email that they got us? Put that in, first of all, tell us what the email was, put it in the context, and how important is that going to be in the outcome?
Nicole Smith is considered the foot soldier of this entire operation, and she was caught by SBA. Frank Pucci finally put the pieces together. That opened up the investigation through IG. They kept on trying to make working capital work. Eventually, SBA came back and said, you have 3 or 4 times to try to get a denial approved, and they were finally caught. And Carrie Agee, actually, she emailed her entire team, they got us. The defense is trying to say that was taken way out of context, and she was busy, and she gets 2,000 emails a day because she's the CEO, and she probably never read the email fully. She was just rushing through to try to get her emails done. However, the government clearly laid out the argument that they, she felt like she was caught. So that was the entire prosecutor's argument was that they were caught, and it was, they used that. They used a couple different things. The check, the $50,000 check that had no money in the bank account. That was another one for equity injection. But they got us email was really that closed the government's case. The jurors were left with that, and I think it's going to resonate. So
let's talk about Carrie's defense. You were in there for about a half hour before you broke away for the show. What is her attorney saying?
Again, it was a difficult time during the Great Recession. She said Carrie was a new mom, and she was trying to run a business and be a mom. That was an emotional play, and then also from the financial side of it, she was trying to use working capital to get businesses through the worst depression, recession in over 60 years. So it was a tough time for everyone. So it wasn't that she was breaking the law and committing fraud. It was she was trying to help her small business borrowers and grow Main Street or preserve Main Street. That's
Chris,
what go ahead.
Yeah, as a lender, I'm not asking you to criticize anything. Just overall, how do those arguments make you feel?
Well, I think optically this whole thing looks bad. I mean, as we pointed out, Carrie was one of the, if not the most well-known females in the SBA lending arena. She was served on the NAGLE board, if not was the chairwoman of the NAGLE board. Most everybody knew her.
I don't think it was, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I just, it's really disheartening, some of this,
Yeah.
People, these are basic stuff. This is basic stuff that anybody who's been in SBA lending for any given period of time should know, particularly if you put yourself out as this expert, which she clearly did. There's just no excuse for some of this stuff. I mean, and to make the argument that she's a female and a new mother, I mean, look, I don't think if you're committing crime, it doesn't matter, what color you are, what gender you are, what's the purpose for it. I mean, it's still crime. And it's just, this whole thing looks bad. I know New Tech probably is not real happy that they bought them shortly after, this occurred. I know they're trying to clearly, distance themselves from this whole mess, and they have. But it's just the whole thing just looks bad to the industry, and most of us, virtually all of us, know this should never happened. I mean, clearly.
What about her defense is that, hey, Chris, there's been 13 SOP changes in 20 years, and those SOPs are difficult to read. What about that defense?
Well, yeah, I don't disagree. They're difficult to read, but if you're going to put yourself out as an expert in SBA lending, then you better make damn sure you know what's in there.
Everybody's sending the SOP documentation right now. Thank you, everyone, for sending that.
Yeah, I mean, okay, thanks.
It's clearly an ineligible use of proceeds. Yeah, delinquent payroll tax.
I mean, look, just because it's been changed 13 times over 20 years, the basics are still in there. Okay, there's been a few tweaks here and there, and and all of us, when they issue a new one, have to go through it and see what's different, and we do that. But I mean, this isn't like some esoteric crime she committed. This is pretty basic stuff that you should know.
Yeah, and this is not a one-off, and we talk about that a lot. You make one mistake, own up to it. You're not that. This is not a one. This is a pattern that the government is alleging.
Right. And you can have your loans that you submit GP. You can have them screened out. You can have denials of the guarantee, and there's appeals processes for all of those things.
Yeah.
But to claim that you've never lost a guarantee because you just you'll do whatever it takes to maintain it. I mean, that's basically what she's arguing for, and that's not good.
I have a question for you both. How does this differ from Patrick Harrington and BLX? It seems to me that Patrick Harrington, that case was definitely a little bit more criminal intent. He was on FBI's wiretaps, criticizing, using very profane language. But do you feel that these two cases are extremely different, or are they in the same?
Absolutely. I'll go first on that. Absolutely. Patrick Harrington was a one-off. He was a rogue employee. If BLX upper management knew about it, they all would have been indicted. I know the FBI was trying to. There was no evidence that they did anything. It was a one-off. This was a company-wide conspiracy that started at the top, allegedly, and worked its way all the way down to the bottom. And what I feel sad about and what I find fascinating is, as you said, you have the foot soldiers who are doing their job, and they're getting caught up in this mess. And it's ruined lives. Yeah,
that's really the discussion. The discussion between the lawyers and the media that were in the room today was, what's going to happen with Nicole Smith? What's going to happen with Kelly? They weren't the executives. What's going to happen with Chad? I mean, the company was founded by Carrie Agee and Matt Smith, who were married at the time, and then they got divorced, but he was still part of it because he created BBB, and the lender was Ridgestone, a very prominent SBA lender that we all know, and he was receiving fees from the loans that BankServe was getting through, so he profited from their actions, and I think that adds to the story. But as the jury deliberates, they have to talk about that. Why
I'm sorry, Joseph. Finish. I keep on trying to cut you off.
I don't know what's going to happen with the employees. That's my question and I'm very interested to see what happens tomorrow. So
I'll let Chris answer that. Go ahead, Chris.
Well, I agree with what you said, Bob, about this being different from Harrington. That was a one-off rogue BDO. This is multiple people. I do think, as the chief executive, Carrie probably was the mastermind behind this, and it's unfortunate that she's basically ruined the employment lives of those folks that worked for her, the foot soldiers, as you say, at least in the lending world. They're not going to have a future in the financial services industry, clearly. But I would expect that they'll probably get, assuming that it's found that they're guilty, I'm assuming that the foot soldiers will get less sentences than she will. But the whole thing it's just a terrible stain on the industry. It's just too bad.
Well, there's a lot of regulations that are new because of SBA being, Frank Pucci seemed visibly upset when he was talking about that yesterday. So there's new stuff the lenders have to deal with because of that. So,
well, everybody in this industry wants to try to help business owners. These good intentions, okay? But there's clearly a line that was allegedly crossed here. And as much as you want to try and help a small business borrower, you still have to do things by the rules, by the regs. And when it gets crossed, I mean, I'm not surprised that the book's being thrown at these folks, as it should be.
This is a great question from Eileen. Eileen, I don't have an answer. Who knows? We'll see what happens. If they're found not guilty, then they were brilliant. If they're found guilty, then I think this is a valid question. But this is always, what is it? Fewer than, I know a very small minuscule of federal cases go to trial. This is one of them.
The other question is, why are all defendants in the same room together right now? Why are they being tried together? Why are they not being tried separately? I mean,
I think that's huge. So anyway, so what's the rest of the, we're over time. What's the rest of the schedule, Joseph, today? You're going to go in and listen to the rest of the closing arguments, and the
rest of the defense attorneys are going to close up, and then jury's going to go deliberate, and we'll see how long it takes. I don't think we'll have a decision today, but I could be wrong. I'm going to head over there now, and I'll keep on tracking the case. So
when anything breaks, we'll do a flash email. Joseph, I assume you're going to stick around tomorrow and then come home tomorrow night.
That's right. Yeah, that's the plan.
Okay. Hey, Chris, I appreciate your feedback. Not a pleasant. The ramifications of this are going to affect all of us. I'll leave it. I'll leave it at that. I mean, this is not something in isolation. The reason why we're covering it is it's going to affect all of us. It's going to affect the program. Hey, thank you all for joining us today for Coleman Report Live and for supporting America's Main Street, one entrepreneur at a time.
Thanks, guys.